So this is my Seattle apartment hunting video. I recently moved from Los Angeles, California to Seattle, and I filmed many apartment tours. And I wanted to create an apartment hunting video for you guys, show you what we ended up living in, give you an idea of some of the prices and vibes, I guess, of some apartments in Seattle, some preliminary stats and things. Our budget for this apartment search was $2,500. Some main things we were looking for: great natural light is a huge must-have for me since I film videos. Looking for something with a big, nice kitchen, ideally with air conditioning, which we quickly learned was not standard at all for Seattle. In fact, I don't think a single apartment that we saw had built-in AC, which coming from LA is truly, truly mind-blowing to me. But I guess they don't believe in AC up here. I don't know. Ideally, we were looking for something that was gated and with a communal outdoor space where we could hang out outside of our unit, get some sunlight. We were also hoping for a nice big shower. I prefer a non-tub shower, so that was on my list. And then laundry either in the unit or in the complex. Before we had it in the complex, so you're hoping to at least have that. Definitely no laundromat. It is interesting how between cities, what is like standard varies. Like I mentioned, AC is not really standard here, but laundry in unit was pretty much universal across every single unit we saw, versus in LA, you're gonna get AC, but the chances of getting laundry in unit are slim. So just interesting to see how the standards change from city to city. I will say overall, in terms of price point, I found Seattle to be slightly cheaper than LA. It is by no means an inexpensive housing market, but what you can get in terms of the modernness, the niceness of the units, I was very impressed by, considering the price point we were looking at. Do with that what you will. I will say a lot of the units we saw were nice, modern, really well put together, and that was like a huge pro, obviously. I am filming this after the fact, obviously, if that wasn't clear. So yes, I was moving with my boyfriend, so obviously we had to find something that fit both of what we were looking for. I do also work from home, at least at the moment, so ideally wanted something with some sort of area my desk could go in, even though I accepted pretty quickly that actually having a designated office was unlikely. Since we were mainly looking at 1-bedrooms, that's pretty much what was in our price range, not so much 2-bedrooms. I'm not gonna reveal the verdict of which apartment we went with until the very end of this video, so if you want to leave your guess for what apartment you think we're gonna choose down in the comments, that'd be kind of fun. I'm curious what you guys think we will pick or what you would pick. Let's get into the tours, shall we? Okay, so day one, we had just arrived in Seattle. We were feeling optimistic. So this first unit was $2,520, so slightly above our price range for 730 square feet. On the bigger side of what we were looking at, bigger to middle, our minimum square footage that we were looking at was 600 square feet. So this was pretty sizable compared to that. And this kitchen, guys, stunning. Absolutely gorgeous. Like so modern, amazing storage. The island was to die for. Like this apartment felt really, really big. It was also staged. So of course that kind of impacts, I guess, how you feel about a place when you see it like all done up with great furnishings, but it was super cute. It also had a little balcony, which was so nice and honestly rare amongst the units that we saw. So that was a huge pro. Laundry in unit, which was very exciting, of course. And the bedroom was honestly a pretty decent size, definitely big enough to fit a bed and 2 nightstands, which is a win. And the bathroom was good. It was a tub shower, which we all know I'm not the biggest fan of, but the vanity was super nice. The whole thing felt super clean and modern, which is a major, major win. The storage situation was pretty good with multiple closets, and this place had a gorgeous, gorgeous rooftop, which obviously scores at serious points. Location-wise, this one was interesting. It was near water, which was really nice. Felt very luxurious. You could literally walk right to the water's edge. It's not like beach, obviously, in Seattle, but it's nice to be able to walk right to the water. And the neighborhood felt very safe, but it also felt like there was absolutely nothing going on. So this place actually lost quite a lot of points on location, even though the unit itself was gorgeous and the area was nice, just because there was not much to do. Like there was a few cafes and coffee shops, but they were quite a walk away, and it just felt like nothing was going on near the apartment, which is a major con for us since we are people who really like being able to walk to things to do. In our previous neighborhood, that was a huge pro. We could walk to so many things, whether that's restaurants, cafes, parks, and the idea of not having that and having this feeling that nothing was going on around us was a big con. This place also had really nice amenities, including a gym, which is obviously a huge pro. The location was for sure the biggest con. It was also somewhat far from the school where my boyfriend is going for his PhD HD, which was unideal. So next up is the apartment complex that I actually thought was going to be the one. This is apartment complex number 2. The location looked gorgeous. It looked out onto water. It was near-ish the first place, but a little bit closer to the school, which was a major win. And I was convinced this was going to be the one. Based on the pictures online of the view and the units, I was like, this is going to be gorgeous. It was not at all what was online. Like, online was very misleading. As soon as I saw the building, I was like, oh, this is not what I was expecting. It was a little underwhelming and did not have the ultra modern feel that the images online did. So they were kind of catfishing a little bit. But the person who worked at this apartment complex showed us many units, some within the building itself, and then some in other buildings that she just happened to own. So I'm not going to show you guys all of those tours because there was a lot of units. I'm just going to show you the top contender from that whole cluster of apartments that we saw with that one tour guide, if that makes sense. So the top contender of those apartments was this very unique studio. This place was so interesting. It was a huge studio space. So I say studio, but it was bigger than most of the one bedrooms we saw at 873 square feet, which is very large. And it was substantially under budget at $21.95, which is like mind blowing. We walked into this space and we quite literally did not think it was the apartment. We thought it was like some sort of lobby because it was huge and it didn't look like an apartment. It looked more so like an office space of some sort, which apparently it actually was, and it was converted into an apartment unit. So it had these insane huge windows across an entire wall, a giant door, like an absolutely giant door. It had columns, it had this gorgeous modern kitchen that we were both obsessed with, and it just felt very grand and very impressive, like the type of space you'd be excited to bring people into because it's just very cool. So we really liked this place. The main draws though was that the giant doors slash windows led onto a pretty busy street. This was a ground floor unit. So we realistically probably wouldn't be able to keep the blinds open often because if we did, people on the street would just be looking right in on our home, which is a little weird. It also didn't feel very safe because it went right onto the street, which I understand that like houses and stuff, that's how it works. Your front door is like out in the normal world. But as someone who's used to living in apartments, the idea of not being within some sort of gated community or complex was like a little unsettling. I felt like I wouldn't feel the most safe. And of course it was a little bit noisy due to the fact that it was on a street. And again, similar to apartment number 1, the location, while pretty, was very dry. It was literally a pizza place, one more restaurant, and that was it. There was not a cafe in sight. The closest cafes was up by the first apartments, which was like a good 20-minute walk. So those were the major cons for apartment 2. So that was the end of the apartments that we saw on day 1. Now we jump into day 2. On day 2, first apartment that we saw, it was $24.79, so right at the top end of our budget, and it was 694 square feet. So definitely on the smaller side. It was under the 700 mark, but we were very impressed with this space. The storage solutions were honestly really good. They even had this cool little rack thing right by the door, which we were impressed by. Good closet space. The bedroom was pretty tiny, unsurprisingly, but there was a good large closet in there. There was laundry in the bathroom, which is obviously a major plus. But the most impressive part of this apartment, I would say, was the kitchen. The island was huge, and really nice, spacious, modern kitchens was honestly the standard we were finding with a lot of our apartment tours, which was very nice. Loved the amount of storage in the kitchen as well. These giant cabinets over here are insane. And yeah, we were just really impressed with the interior of this unit and how nicely done it was, like the finishes, the modern feel. It was really nice. But one of the most impressive things about this apartment complex was the amenities and just like the complex in general outside of the unit. They had really nice lounges, including one with a pool table. They had lots of decks where you could sit outside. They had a lounge with shuffleboard in it, which is like crazy. A really nice gym. So they won a lot of points on the amenities front. And in terms of location, this was a pretty different area than what we looked at on day 1. The proximity seemed better to the school, which was a win, and there was stuff to do. It wasn't the cutest area ever, but it seemed a lot more promising than the first 2 places we saw in the sense that there was actually businesses. There was a cute cafe in walking distance, like literally a block away, which was a major pro. The next place we saw had the best location that we had seen so far. This place was in a very cute neighborhood, and it had the vibes that I had been so desperately missing that I felt like I had in my LA apartment in terms of cute, walkable neighborhood with cafes and restaurants and things, and felt very safe, good community vibes, near a park, which is a major pro. So check on location. As soon as we saw the location of this place, we were like, oh my God, as long as the unit is decent, like this could be it, because area matters a lot. So the unit that we saw in this complex number 4, was $26.60, so substantially over budget. it. It was a 738 square foot 1-bedroom, so pretty middle of the road in terms of square footage. And we liked this unit. We liked the large island, and we also really liked the windows. They almost covered the entire far wall and let in a decent amount of natural light. This was on a pretty high floor of the apartment complex, which definitely helps in terms of light. The bedroom was tiny as well as carpeted, but it did have a pretty nice walk-in closet. And the bathroom was cute, not too much storage, and definitely on the smaller side, as well as it did have a tub shower. So at last some points, this unit did have laundry in the unit, which was a major pro. This complex had a ton to offer in terms of amenities as well, which actually seemed to be very common. We were running into a lot of places with gyms, with some sort of rooftop or community lounge, which was really nice to see. In the case of this unit, it did have a rooftop lounge. It had 2 gyms. It had a community area. It had a lot going for it in the complex part, and it seemed like a very put together complex, like clearly gated, had an office, which is usually a green flag if there's like a proper office with people you can go to with problems instead of just like a mysterious landlord that you have to text, you know? So lots of points there. Definitely not the grandest unit that we had seen, but the location and the community amenities were really making up points for it, as well as the decent size and light. And the fact that it was on a higher floor did give it that like almost high-rise feel, not quite, but you did feel pretty high up, which was very nice. So that was apartment number 4. So next unit that we saw, number 5, was 2365 for 771 square feet. So below budget and on the bigger side as well. The kitchen was interesting. It was sizable, but it was kind of tucked into like a little square, which is definitely not ideal. It did have a little walkout balcony, which was nice, and was in a pretty residential area. It did have a decent amount of natural light coming in, pretty big windows. The bedroom was definitely small, but had a decent sized window and had a pretty good walk-in closet, I would say. I would say honestly, the biggest thing that this apartment lacked was just some wow factor. The building was fine. The location was moderate to unenjoyable. There just wasn't much going on. And it honestly seemed like a little bit of a, dare I say, slightly sketchy area. Definitely not somewhere where I would be hanging out. Like nothing to do that was cute around. And yeah, honestly, this one was just pretty lackluster. This place sort of had the bells and whistles in terms of like a little gym workout room and a little like rooftop situation, but it just kind of felt like the life had been sucked out of the place. I don't really know how to explain or describe. Maybe it had to do with the fact that the guy who was giving us the tour had like the most bored monotone voice in the world, and he was just not selling it either. But yeah, the apartment itself as well as the area was just like not comparing to the 2 places we had seen before on day 2. So last but not least, we have tour number 6, the 6th and final apartment unit that we looked at. This one was interesting. Going into touring places, this building I think was rated number 1 in terms of what we thought was going to score best. So me and my boyfriend do this whole system where we assign point values to different must-haves and nice-to-haves to basically rank the apartments before we tour them to give us an idea of what might be contender. And even though going into the tours, I thought number 2 on this apartment list was going to be my favorite, the one that actually scored the highest and had the most potential technically was apartment number 6, the one that we're about to look at right now. So we went in with pretty high expectations, but I will say, as soon as we kind of saw the area that it was in, which was originally the area that we thought maybe we wanted to live in, we were kind of like, this is not nice though. It was a lot sketchier and more chaotic of an area than we were anticipating, and both me and my boyfriend had reservations about the area, but obviously we're still going to give the apartment a chance since it was our top contender. So this place had a 824 1-bedroom for $21.59. So substantially below our price range by multiple $100s. We also had the potential to afford a 2-bedroom, which was one of the reasons why it scored so high in terms of our like rating system. But yes, the 1-bedroom was priced at $21.59. So the unit that you're going to see in these videos was their staged unit. And the one thing that I will say is that this apartment complex, it was the only non-modern, not new apartment complex that we toured, and it had the charm to show for it. Now, to be fair, the way it was decorated was absolutely a factor here. They really played into the charm and made this space extremely cute in terms of the decor style. But one thing that I absolutely loved was this little window with a breakfast bar situation in the kitchen. So cute. Practical, maybe not, but very, very charming and had a lot of cute character. This kitchen in general, very charming, a lot of character. So this place was very cute and very charming. They did show us other units in some sister buildings that they had. And one of the units I did not get a video of, but let me just say, I have never been so insulted in my life. I'm being dramatic, but literally we walked into the unit and I could not believe my eyes. I've never seen an apartment in that bad of shape. Literally, it smelled like something had died. The carpets were long and disgusting. The kitchen was completely unrenovated, looked like it could fall apart at any second. Like the place was just gross. It needed a complete overhaul and I could not believe that someone had just moved out of it because I don't know how they were living in there. I could go on and on, but needless to say, we did not consider that other unit that we were shown. And what's so crazy is that it was not even that much cheaper than all the other apartments that we toured. It was in the worst area, it was in horrible condition, and it was maybe only a couple hundred cheaper than the other units we saw. Insulting. But anyway, the one with the charm was obviously the best unit that we saw. My boyfriend did say he remembered it smelling as well. I did not notice that with the model unit personally. Okay, so we've seen the 6 tours. If you have a guess, leave it down in the comments. The unit that we ended up choosing was unit number 4. The one with the really great location around lots of cute things, lots of cafes, lots of restaurants. Unfortunately, when we applied for that apartment, we did not get the exact unit because it got snatched up in like 2 seconds. Our backup unit, which was actually slightly larger, also got snatched up in 2 seconds. So we ended up with a 3rd unit that we never even saw in person. It's $2,600, so $100 over budget, but not too bad. Looking back at the videos now, I think this unit is a little bit nicer than the one that we saw. To be fair, it is slightly smaller. I think this unit is like 690 square feet as opposed to slightly over 700. So lost a bit of square footage, but we have full wall windows in the unit we actually ended up with. Other key differences that I wanted to point out is that the bathroom actually feels a lot bigger. There's a proper amount of storage, unlike the unit that we saw. The laundry is in the bathroom rather than in its own closet. And the original unit that we toured faced directly onto another building and was on a slightly lower floor, while our current unit actually has a bit of a view. So I'm honestly really glad that we got the unit that we did. At the end of the day, location is truly everything when it comes to looking for a home, and I believe that, as well as natural light. And this place has great natural light, like honestly better than the unit that we saw, which is awesome. That's my apartment hunting journey. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment down below whether you were correct about the unit I was going to choose and what you guys thought of the apartment tours. So excited to be living in this new city, and I'm absolutely loving it so far. So yeah, let me know if you guys want to see more Seattle related content, and I'll see you next time. Bye.